Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? I got to start with Super Bowl 56, man. We're getting closer to it. Obviously, the excitement's building for it. When you look at Burrow, Stafford, this quarterback matchup in this Super Bowl, how does this one jive? Like, how does this one make you feel relative to some of the other quarterback matchups we've seen in the Super Bowl in recent years?
Well, I friggin' love it. It may not be the sexy talk around the teams. The Rams, I know L.A., but with Cincinnati, one team we kind of had that was supposed to get there, and the other one we weren't sure was ever going to even make the playoffs at the beginning of the season, right? Some actually had them in last place or struggling to get anywhere, and meaning the Cincinnati Bengals. I personally, but if you sift all that, and that it's not the Chiefs or the Saints or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, what's not to like about these two quarterbacks? I mean, good gracious, I don't have to tell Saints fans that and LSU fans that, but you've got Stafford has played phenomenal football for a guy in the side stories. The sidebars are huge. We've got a Matt Stafford who has never, going into this, never won a playoff game, and we question, well, what kind of moxie would he have in big games? He's had them every game. Even when he's made some bad throws that one should have been picked or a couple in a game or two, and especially against San Francisco, he overcame it. So he stepped up when people wondered, and here they are, and they set out to do this at the beginning of the year. This is what Les Snead and Sean McVay had in mind, and here they are. And Stafford, what a great story. He's been through so much with the health of his wife and all the years in Detroit. Great story. Then you got the other guy, where everything he's, other than the injury, since he started his last year at LSU, everything he's touched has turned to gold. We've got the guy that people are starting to compare to the poise of Brady, the swagger that's real, that's not fake, that everybody loves, and that he's become the guy that, with all that's gone on, Brady retiring, what's happened with Kamara, all the stuff with the coaching and the race, the race relations and the hiring coaches and how we go about our hiring practice, the NFL is reeling a little bit right now. And so a Stafford-Joe Burrow matchup with great stuff, we're looking for that. And, the NFL's in a situation where they could use some good news right now with a great game. It's in Los Angeles. It sets up. But I think the fact that we've got a team that's never been in it, it hasn't won one, Cincinnati, the Rams and Cincinnati, both these teams over the years trying to get back 3 decades for Cincinnati or what have you, and the Rams, it's been a while too, and here they are. So while it may not have the sexy early appeal, when you look at the quarterbacks, this is Mahomes versus, a Lamar Jackson in a playoff game. This is Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers, although they're the older version of it. And Matt Stafford's kind of in between, and then you got the younger version. I think it's a hell of a quarterback matchup, and I think it's going to be a hell of a football game.
Which quarterback has the bigger challenge against that opposing defense?
Stafford does. Burrow does, because of the star power. Jalen Ramsey in the secondary can shut you down. You're going to have to be tight in windows and throw on time, and Aaron Donald can take over a game in the middle of a defense, which quarterbacks that know how to manipulate the pocket and are really good in that hula hoop area in the pocket, is what I call it, to be able to move and reset and throw. And Joe can buy time and scramble too. And then there's Von Miller, and they've got some edge rushers that can disrupt, and they got guys who can run. So I think it's them. I think Cincinnati's underrated, and I think that's a big part of this game. What is their front seven going to do to keep Matt Stafford in a long yardage situation, so Sony Michel and that Cam Akers, so they don't get going? Because if they get going and Stafford doesn't have to let it rip 35 or 40 times, which he's good at, but the more you throw it, the more chance there is that ball that Tart dropped, a tipped ball or a sideline pick that changes and flips the field and changes field position, or you score on defense. So while every defensive coordinator is going to say take away the run, we know the key is you can't let Cooper Kupp go crazy, and you got to make sure that Matt Stafford takes a few hits while he's throwing sidearm, and you hope for a tip ball. But advantage, at least on the surface and with the star power that Burrow's going to have, and he's seen it. Hell, he's overcome 9 sacks. He gets it, but he hasn't played against as good a player. You're talking about 2 Hall of Fame defensive guys that are Hall of Famers that are going to be rushing the passer, and Aaron Donald, Von Miller. So this will be the way we can look at it, the most going into a game where you're preparing like, who do we double team, or may have to double team both, obviously Aaron Donald. So I would say the bigger challenge falls on Cincinnati's offensive line against that front. But let's make no mistake about it now. The offensive line of the Rams isn't exactly the most physical group in the NFL. So this could be the underrated matchup, is their 5 up front versus Cincinnati Bengals front 7 that's actually been pretty good in a couple game plans in the postseason.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next. So, offensively for the Rams, where does the biggest challenge lie with the way the Bengals have actually played defensively in this postseason, which has been pretty good?
For me, the Bengals, now the Rams, we know what they like to do, Matt. They want to make chunk plays, right? They want to get you in a position. They'll run a trick play. They're going to try to give you a lot of different looks, and then get you in a point where you're out of position a little bit, and they're going to take shots. They're going to try to get Beckham singled. They're going to try to get you on a mismatch where a linebacker pops out in the slot to have to cover Cooper Kupp. So that challenge will be there. But for the Rams, it is not to take that for granted. Now, I'm anxious to see early in the game how the Rams protect. Are they just going to say, listen, we got 5, they're going to bring our 5 on their 5, or do the Bengals trust that they can rush 3 and rush 4 and drop into coverage? I personally got to be careful if I'm Cincinnati's front to overpressure. If you think you can stop the run game in base defense, whatever that base is they're going to play with a change-up pitch in the Super Bowl, I would be, because, Matt, I think it's a mistake for teams to come into a Super Bowl, even though they've had 2 weeks, and to completely change what they do. They're going to go with what they do. Now, you got to have a couple extra blitzes and a couple extra different types of looks, because you got to be multiple. You don't want to get in the same defense all the time, but you also get caught. The biggest problem in games like this is the choke factor steps up. Mm-hmm. You're hyperventilating, you're breathing faster, and your mind's racing. And so what's the best thing to do? And I talked to actually Brian Urlacher about it earlier today on my show. Keep it simple, man. He goes, we ran like 7 defenses when Lovey was our coach in a Super Bowl. He goes, keep the thing simple, and then add a few change-ups. Do what you do, because then there's no hesitation. Nothing worse in a big game than split-second hesitation. If you're covering Cooper Kupp, you're done.
Yeah.
Split-second hesitation if the left tackle doesn't get out of his stance, or if the defensive end thinks, is this an inside charge or an outside charge? And boom, hesitation, break contains 40-yard run. So I think the challenge is for the Cincinnati overall, can't give up chunk plays in the game. Make them constantly go the patient distance, because at some point the Staffords and Mahomes are always going to take shots, always. So you can't give up the home run, and I'm anxious to see the challenge as far as, formationally, how Cincinnati deals with this, and can they play base, and I want to see how physical they're going to be in base defense so they don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff, because Beckham and Kupp against man-to-man coverage, if you don't get to the quarterback, it could be devastating, and home runs are big in a game like this.
Yeah, I look at the total, Sean. I can't believe it's so low. I mean, it feels like we're going to have a lot more offense in this game. Last thing on Super Bowl, do you feel like we're destined for a really good, tight game that's going to have a good bit of offense? Or do you think we're destined for something more like what we saw last year, where one team, the home team in that instance, just kind of ran away with it?
I think it's going to be a close game, but I think there's a reason for the number. I'm usually a guy that likes overs, and when you get quarterbacks like this in offense. Mm-hmm. But I also know that when's the last time either one of these, I know the Rams were in it recently, but this group, Beckham, it's been a while. Stafford's never been in one. You go down the line about guys that haven't been in Cincinnati. Ain't a whole lot of cats on that team have been in this either. So what happens in these games I mentioned about, getting out of position is plays that you should make early. Sometimes it takes them a while to feel their way through it. So you're in the middle of the second quarter and it's 10-3. Take a field goal, it's 10-6. And then when you start to fire on all cylinders, we're in the fourth quarter, and then a stop here and a stop there in it. So I actually am leaning towards I don't think it's 37-34. I think it's 27-24, 23-20, 27-20, a game that I think it's a fourth quarter game. I don't think either team right now, with the way both teams are playing, and the way both quarterbacks are playing, I don't think a blowout happens. I don't. But I also don't think we're looking at 41-38 in this game either. I think that defenses, they just read and react and go, all out. Offenses get a little bit, especially new ones, try to feel your way out in formation, a lot of formations early, to figure out how defenses are going to adjust to you, and then maybe a little more onslaught in the second half.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.